What next? I'm joined by Richard Pater, Director of BICOM, the British-Israeli think tank, a former Israeli army veteran, and he served in the Israel Prime Minister's office as a press officer as well. Good morning to you, Richard.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. So what next do you expect?
It's a good question. I mean, first of all, we're still reflecting on last night. We have President Trump's word that it seems to be a very successful mission complete. We're still waiting now in the first hours to have kind of independent verification that the Fordow installment in particular has been irreversibly destroyed. And I think then we're looking towards an endgame militarily. I think Israel still has several military targets, numerous military targets still they want to aim at primarily. I'm here in Jerusalem. We were sent again to the side because of the sirens into the shelters this morning. So they will want to completely incapacitate their ability to launch and even develop new missiles to be sure that the mission can be completed in its entirety.
There has been a growing talk, both in Israel and across in the United States, of regime change. Would it be something that you would, if you wanted it, that you would hope came from the Iranian people themselves?
Very much so. I think the Israeli officials that I speak to and I've been listening to are very cautious not to talk about regime change. I don't think it's in the power of another country to be able to deliver that. I think the best case scenario is for the Israel now, with the help of the US, to set the conditions that then leave it up to the people of the Iranian public to decide what they choose to do with their future. But from an Israeli military perspective, the targets have been solely based on nuclear capacity and military.
What about repercussions? Because at the moment, of course, no one knows how Iran is going to respond. We've heard the usual rhetoric come out from a foreign minister in the early hours this morning. There were missile strikes, I believe, against Tel Aviv last night. Do you expect more? Do you feel that the reprisals that are coming from Iran have been reduced, restricted by action Israel has already taken?
To a large extent, I'll say two things on this. First of all, in terms of the understanding here in Israel is that along with the American strikes, they also sent a very clear warning to the Iranians, saying that this was the American objective, to destroy the nuclear program, and from then it's over. If the Iranians now decide to respond in any way to US interests in the region, then they'll find themselves with a much bigger problem facing the American wrath. So that's a question for the Iranians of whether they learn that lesson. From the Israeli perspective, they're very careful to warn that this is not over. The Home Front Command that sends instructions to the civilian population here has once again tightened restrictions that all work places except for essential work have been closed. Now no schools are opening. So they're very conscious that whilst Iran still has the capacity to launch ballistic missiles towards Israel's civilian population, then high vigilance is still necessary.
Now, as director of BICOM, British-Israeli think tank, what are your thoughts on Britain's position at present, which seems a little unclear? Prime Minister Keir Starmer, his comment earlier, and this is all we've got from him, is that Iran's nuclear program is a grave threat to international security. Iran can never be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. The US has taken action to alleviate that threat. The situation in the Middle East remains volatile and stability is a priority. We call on Iran to return to the negotiating table and reach a diplomatic solution to end this crisis. What, if anything, would you like our Prime Minister to do?
It's a good question, because I think in terms of the military capacity, the UK didn't really have the same level of sophisticated bombers that the Americans have. So it kind of made their military role obsolete. I do think that the UK can play a constructive role going forward in the diplomatic sense. I mean, we saw the British taking a lead along with other European partners, meeting with the Iranians on Friday. And once the shooting stops, then I think the UK do have an important role to back up their allies, primarily the UK and Israel, and to assure to be part of the reassurance of the international community that the Iranians have no capacity to develop weapon systems in the future, and that will kind of be the guarantee of a long-term peace. And I also think that on the day after, the UK can also play a constructive role kind of returning to where we were the summer of 23, and the discussions of Israel and normalization with the Arab world. The UK has very strong links, particularly with the Saudis and other parts of the Arab world, and they can be a constructive bridge to bring round the pragmatic, moderate states, the Sunni Arab states and the Jewish states, and kind of renew that a new vision for the region, which includes prosperity. And I go further and say that the Iranian people should also be a part of that process as well. And I know that Israelis would welcome their Iranian brethren into the fold of any peace process as well.
I have to say, I take great comfort in your commitment, your views on diplomacy and the role Britain can play there. Would you have... I mean, there was quite a bit of discussion at the back end of last week about whether or not UK air bases may or may not be used by US bombers to launch an attack. How would you have felt if UK air bases had been involved?
I think it's entirely appropriate for the UK to be kind of junior partners to US efforts. I think that's where they historically they have always been kind of a part of the Atlantic Alliance, with supporting other allies, Israel and other moderate Arab states in the region. And, I mean, the big breakthrough here came through after the Abraham Accords, and the Central Command of the US was able to bring Israel into the fold with the moderate Arab states. And the UK was a partner of that as well, and kind of privy to those conversations by dint of their alliance with the US. And so I have obviously a British bias, but I would like to see that role for the UK strengthened and enhanced within those alliances.
Richard, lovely talking to you. Richard Pater, their Director of BICOM.